Fenris breeds heroes like a bar breeds drunks, loud, proud and spoiling for a fight. Grandmaster Belial of the Dark Angels. Fenris, a forbidding death world located within the Segmentum Obscurus, serves as the ancestral home and primary recruiting ground for the Vulca Fenrica, the renowned Space Wolves chapter of the Space Marines. This icy, inhospitable planet was also the birthplace of the chapter's legendary primarch, Lemon Russ. Fenris is home to the Fang, an immense fortress monastery regarded by many Imperial scholars as second only to Terra's Imperial Palace in terms of fortification and strategic importance. The planet's name draws from ancient Norse mythology, named after the mythic wolf Fenrir, progeny of Loki, the trickster god of old Earth, who was fated to battle the Norse gods during Ragnarok. Names of places on Fenris reflect this mythic heritage, rooted in the ancient languages and folklore of Terra, with its single moon named Valdemani, the Wolf's Moon. Fenris occupies a critical position in the galactic south of Segmentum Obscurus, positioned near the warp rift known as the Eye of Terror, from which the forces of chaos launch ceaseless raids against the Imperium. Due to its proximity to this sinister rift, Fenris stands as one of the Imperium's frontline defenses against chaos incursion. Since the end of the Horus Heresy, the Space Wolves have maintained an unwavering watch over both Fenris and the vulnerable worlds nearby. Their territory spans the Fenris system's frozen depths and the scattered stars that encircle it, yet it is this frigid and perilous death world, with its unforgiving climate and constant dangers, that the Space Wolves proudly call their true home. Few born upon such inhospitable worlds will readily trust those who have not endured what they have. Instilling appropriate discipline is a difficulty faced by many commissars, but the difficulties are regarded as acceptable, given the matchless survival instincts and natural resilience of such peoples. Extract from the Tactica Imperialis. A death world is a planet deemed by the Imperium to be too perilous for widespread human habitation due to extreme environmental hazards or the lethal ferocity of its native life forms. Such planets present an array of lethal challenges, from vast jungles teeming with carnivorous plants and savage predators to barren volcanic landscapes ravaged by ion storms. Some death worlds are so hostile that even the very ground appears alive and bent on devouring intruders. These worlds are nearly impossible for humanity to colonize, either because of severe environmental threats or because of the aggressive ecosystems that dominate them. Yet many still harbor human settlements, often populated by resilient, self-reliant communities known for producing hardy soldiers. Many of these inhabitants are recruited into the Astra Militarum or selected by the Space Marines, a primary justification for the Imperium's ongoing tolerance of such colonies. In some instances, these death worlds are exploited for their abundant mineral, botanical or biological resources, which are considered valuable enough to risk maintaining a human presence. According to the Magi biologists of the Adeptus Mechanicus, many death worlds may be remnants of ancient biological experiments by early Tyranid hive fleets that ventured into the Milky Way eons ago. Creatures like the Kraken of Fenris or the Catachan Devil from the jungle world of Catachan bear strong resemblances to Tyranid bioforms, suggesting a possible descent from these Xenos. Severed from the Tyranid hive mind after the departure of the hive fleets, these organisms have devolved into mindless, yet still brutally efficient predators, perpetuating the cycle of danger that defines these worlds. Officially, death worlds should be devoid of human inhabitants. However, certain demands necessitate a persistent presence, even though life in these regions is not suited to the faint-hearted or physically unfit. On such hostile planets, everyone is compelled to contribute fully to the collective, as any failure can mean the downfall of the entire community. Each death world has its unique challenges, from relentless predators to violent storms, yet humanity defies these dangers to carve out a place. Survival on these planets is a matter of strict adherence to duties, and any deviation from assigned responsibilities is met with severe consequences. Physical strength is paramount, but those less able engage in essential support roles, ensuring no effort goes to waste. Individuals who refuse to contribute are harshly reprimanded. In extreme cases, Banishment serves as both punishment and deterrent. While retreating into secure habitats may seem appealing, the resources that make these death worlds valuable demand that their inhabitants regularly confront the lethal environments. This often involves safeguarding crews extracting mineral or organic resources and keeping essential defense systems operational in unforgiving conditions. Life here is precarious, and survival depends on prioritizing duty to the settlement or base over individual desires. People from death worlds bear emotional and physical scars from a life steeped in survival. Loss is a constant companion, with many having witnessed the death of loved ones, sometimes even by their own hand in dire circumstances. This constant exposure to mortality fosters a strong loyalty to the group, yet often deters close individual bonds to avoid further heartache. Death world natives are pragmatic and straightforward. Unconstrained by subtleties, they act decisively, seeing the most efficient path and moving to execute it without hesitation. What some see as recklessness, they view as practicality, taking swift action to minimize risk to their community's resources and lives. Survival is ingrained from birth, making them notoriously hard to kill. Troops drafted from these worlds are some of the fiercest warriors within the Astra Militarum. Their combination of tenacity, skill and resilience makes them effective across all battlefronts, with many honing specialized skills unique to their home terrain. These same qualities make them formidable arbitrators, excelling in roles that demand resilience and clear-headed pragmatism. In the ranks of the Adeptus Mechanicus or the Adeptus Administratum, Deathworld natives bring invaluable tenacity and resourcefulness, essential for maintaining technological and logistical frameworks in high-stakes situations. Their acceptance of self-sacrifice and quick problem-solving abilities, developed from a life of constant danger, allow them to make critical decisions rapidly, securing effective outcomes when timing is crucial. History of Fenris can be described by several major events. The Primarch's departure. On the 197th Feast of the Emperor's Ascension on Fenris, Leman Russ assembled his most trusted retainers and, without explanation, departed for the Eye of Terror, leaving his chapter with only mystery and legend surrounding his sudden departure. First Battle of the Fang. Magnus the Red, vengeful Primarch of the Thousand Suns, tormented great wolf Harrick Ironhelm with haunting visions, inciting him to bring the Thousand Suns to battle once more. When Ironhelm received reports of the traitor legion gathering on Gangava, he launched a full-scale assault, leading 11 great companies into battle. However, Magnus had long orchestrated a trap. He arrived on Fenris with his legion's full might. With only a single great company left to defend the Fang, Bjorn the Fell-Handed awoke to lead a fierce guerrilla defense. Thousand Suns forces breached the Fang's gates, but Wolf Scout Harkon Blackwing escaped to summon the remaining Space Wolves. The chapter returned in force, driving the Thousand Suns from Fenris. In the ensuing battle, Harrick Ironhelm confronted Magnus, but fell before mighty Bjorn ultimately banished the Demon Primarch. The Plague of Unbelief. In the dark times of the Plague of Unbelief, the heretical Cardinal Bucaris amassed a crusade of zealous followers, carving a path toward terror. With a seemingly endless horde, Bucaris laid siege to Fenris in an attempt to secure a safe path to the throne world. However, his plans were thwarted when Wolf Lord Curl Grimblood returned to Fenris from a campaign in the Eye of Terror, striking the heretic forces from the rear. Caught between the Fang's unbreakable defences and Grimblood's fleet, Bucaris's forces were devastated, leaving the apostates' crusade in ruins. The Months of Shame. After the First War for Armageddon, the Inquisition sterilized the population of Armageddon and confined them to labor camps due to their exposure to the demon Primarch Angron. This sparked a fierce conflict with the Space Wolves, who objected vehemently to the Inquisition's treatment of innocent Imperial citizens. Tensions escalated into a brief but intense battle in Fenris's orbit, marking a significant rift between the Space Wolves and the Inquisition. Drukhari raids. Duke Trevelyath Sliskus and his Dark Elder Corsairs, the Sky Serpents, launched a raid on Fenris. Though the Drukhari were eventually repelled with heavy casualties, they managed to capture many Fenrisian tribesmen and Space Wolf aspirants from Asaheim. taking them as slaves back to Komarok. The Ecclesiarchy's intrusion. Following rumors of false gods worshipped by the Space Wolves, a delegation from the Ecclesiarchy demanded an inquiry into Fenrisian practices. Logan Grimnar refused, barring their entry into the Fang. Undeterred, the Ecclesiarchy's envoy attempted to dock with the fortress, but met destruction. Ignoring this warning, the Ecclesiarchy returned with 3 orders militant of the Adepta Sororitas. After a 3-week skirmish, the Ecclesiarchy retreated, conceding that Fenris was best left undisturbed. The battle for Midgardia. The Necron overlord Trazyn the Infinite led a fleet to Midgardia in pursuit of a shard of the ancient Catan, Niadra-Zatha, which lay dormant within the planet's core. Outraged, Logan Grimnar mobilized a massive force to defend Midgardia, transforming its toxic jungles and underground cities into a brutal battlefield. Siege of the Fenris system. The Chaos Forces launched a full-scale invasion of the Fenris system, led by the Thousand Sons and their demon primarch, Magnus the Red. In a parallel assault, the Space Wolves' traditional rivals, the Dark Angels, spearheaded a coalition of loyalist forces who also bombarded Fenris. Despite overwhelming odds, Logan Grimnar and the Space Wolves fought tirelessly, ultimately emerging victorious. However, the Ordo Malleus, echoing the grim aftermath of the First War for Armageddon, culled much of Fenris's population who had witnessed the demon primarch's presence, underscoring the high cost of Chaos's dark shadow over the Imperium. Each of these pivotal moments in Fenrisian history highlights the unyielding spirit of the Space Wolves and their fierce commitment to defend their homeworld, no matter the foe or the cost. Fenris, with its harsh landscape and proud warriors, stands as a bastion against all who would challenge the might of the Vulca Fenrica and the Imperium. The people of Fenris have adapted to the planet's relentless cycles of destruction, embracing the ever-changing landscape with a fierce warrior's pride. Life on Fenris is marked by endless shifts in its terrain, but the inhabitants find strength and identity in these harsh conditions. Only the northern polar continent of Asarheim offers relative shelter from the planet's extreme environment, providing a haven for the Fenrisian people and creatures that can survive nowhere else on the world. Among Asarheim's unique fauna are massive ice bears, gigantic elk, and shaggy mastodons, alongside more fantastical creatures such as snow trolls, shape-shifting doppelgangrels, and the legendary white worms that carve tunnels through glaciers and fjords. The deadliest of all, however, are the semi-sentient Fenrisian wolves, intelligent predators whose cunning rivals their strength, with the largest among them standing as fierce equals to any other great beast that roams Fenris's frozen landscapes. Despite its sanctuary-like status, Asarheim remains isolated. Towering cliffs, thousands of feet high, ring its shores, creating a rugged and insurmountable barrier between it and the surrounding oceans. For Fenrisian tribespeople, Asarheim is revered as the land of the gods, an untamed and sacred wilderness. Rising above this hallowed ground is the Space Wolves' formidable fortress monastery, known as the Fang, or the Et, to those who dwell within. Built atop the tallest mountain in Asarheim, this fortress occupies a peak known variously as the Shoulder of the Allfather or Volda Hamarki, the world spine. The Fang serves as the heart of the Space Wolves chapter, extending its vast structure deep into the surrounding mountain range and even reaching into orbit. It harnesses energy from the planet's molten core, drawing power from geothermal sources to sustain itself. The Fang houses colossal ground-based anti-ship orbital defense lasers, cleverly disguised as nearby peaks. The fortress also includes docking bays for battle barges and strike cruisers at its summit, shrines to the Emperor, worshipped here as the Allfather, along its lower slopes, and fusion reactors deep beneath its surface. Built during the Great Crusade by the Mechanicum on the Emperor's orders, using now lost technology, the Fang is regarded as one of the most impregnable strongholds in the galaxy outside Terra itself. Although the Thousand Sons Traitor Legion, the sworn foes of the Space Wolves, managed to seize control of its outer slopes during the First Battle of the Fang in the 32nd millennium, they were unable to penetrate the fortress completely, and the Fang has never fallen to any invader. This towering volcano is bordered by a handful of resilient and defiant Fenrisian tribes who live under the shadow of its unpredictable fury. Known as the fire breather, the mountain has the power to unleash thick, lethal fumes that can annihilate entire tribes within minutes or erupt suddenly, flooding the land with molten lava and deadly clouds of ash. Despite its lethal potential, a few bold, or perhaps reckless souls carve out a life on its perilous slopes. Among the tribes that make their home near the fire breather, a tradition of tattooing warriors' skin endures, marking their bodies with symbols of valor, prowess, and significant achievements. Wolf Lord Sven Bloodhowl was drawn from these rugged people and has carried his tribe's customs, including the art of ritual tattoos, into the Space Wolves chapter. Another ancient site revered by the Thunderfist tribe, the tribe from which Ragnar Blackmane hails, stands on a relatively stable rock ledge. The site, encircled by towering rune stones weathered with age and cloaked in moss, remains a mysterious, sacred place. Whether it still endures amidst the relentless environment of Fenris is uncertain. Once a grim and foreboding valley within Asaheim's mountain ranges was home to the rogue psyker tribe known as the Vulture Clan. This clan, corrupted and tainted, was found by the Space Wolves' wolf priests, who launched a fierce purge, eradicating nearly every member and burning their remains to erase all trace of their existence. Only 5 boys, deemed young enough to be potential chapter aspirants, were spared. Of these, 3 were too corrupted and left to die in the wild. 1 perished during his proving, but the last survived, eventually becoming known as Rune Priest Uli Iceclaw. Uli later joined the Blackmane's Great Company, taking part in the Battle of Alaric Prime. The Valley of the Burning Stones, ominous even under normal conditions, was a shadowed crevice in Asaheim's mountains, receiving sunlight only for a fleeting hour each day. At the valley's far end, towering black peaks guarded its approach, marked by cairns and watchtowers, and littered with the skulls of the Vulture Clan's foes. The clan's members had sheltered in bone huts covered in the flayed hides of their enemies, a grim testament to their violent ways. Their dark rituals gave the valley its name, as sacrificial victims were chained to the rocks and burned alive as offerings to pagan deities, the foul and twisted, ruinous powers of chaos. The earliest settlers who ventured to Fenris before the Age of Strife found its surface far too harsh to sustain any traditional settlement. Rather than facing the relentless elements above ground, they dismantled their colony ships and constructed extensive subterranean cities within the Asaheim mountain range. For many Terran years, these settlers remained sheltered within the rock, surviving through the turbulent age of catastrophe known as Old Night, which shattered the ancient realms of mankind. Though these cave cities shielded them from Fenris's hostile predators and volatile weather, they were eventually forsaken. Today, only contradictory myths and fragmented stories attempt to explain why these vast sanctuaries were abandoned in favor of the treacherous surface. Some legends speak of a dark, malevolent presence within the rock that led to mutation and the worship of chaos. Other tales recount the release of forbidden weaponry, which rendered the once safe cities too perilous to inhabit. At last, Lemon Russ forbade any Fenrisians from resettling in these expansive caves or among the remnants of these ancient subterranean cities. However, some Fenrisians have chosen to disregard his edicts, drawn by the allure of the forbidden, despite the known dangers. Those who defied Russ's decree and chose to live within the caves gradually devolved over generations into twisted beings known as Nightgangers, horrific creatures with distorted limbs, pallid, diseased skin, and large, milky, unseeing eyes. Fenrisian tribespeople, respecting both lore and survival, avoid the Asaheim caves, fearing the claws of these warped mutants who lurk within the shadows, waiting to drag unsuspecting victims into darkness. For untold centuries, perhaps even millennia, a profane temple dedicated to Tzeentch lay hidden in the depths of these abandoned cities beneath the mountains. In this dreadful place, the Nightgangers had, over many generations, constructed an enormous temple, dedicating their worship to chaos in the form of the Lord of Change. That such a foul place existed for so long, so near to the Fang, was a shocking revelation for the Space Wolves, a discovery accidentally made by a group of newly inducted Bloodclaws, among them the young warrior Ragnar Blackmane. This grave revelation prompted the Space Wolves' leaders to awaken one of their most ancient warriors, the venerable dreadnought Bjorn the Fell-Handed, to lead a force into the depths and obliterate the temple. Eventually the corrupt shrine was dismantled and the Thousand Suns' forces were driven from the cavern. However, the Space Wolves remain watchful, ever mindful of the possibility that other hidden shrines to chaos may lie in the labyrinthine depths beneath Fenris, waiting to be unearthed by the unwary. Throughout Fenris, ancient tombs, barrows and cairns dot the land, marking the resting places of its ancient lords. These graves hold the remains of long-dead kings, queens, princes and nobles, each entombed within stone crypts adorned with runes, recounting the storied lives and heroic deeds of those interred. From these ancient texts, the tribes of Fenris derive their language, and the Space Wolves inherit the runic script, vital to the practices of their rune priests. In the rugged lowlands of the Azerheim polar continent lie secluded training camps, where potential chapter aspirants face a series of grueling trials to prove their worth. Camps like Rusvik, Grimnir and Valksburg serve as the first training grounds where young tribesmen, hand-picked by the wolf priests, begin their transformation. For many long months these aspirants undergo relentless hardships, facing physical and mental trials that push them beyond their limits. Stripped of their tribal identities, they are forged into a cohesive force, working and fighting together as the packs they will likely serve alongside for the rest of their lives. Those who endure this punishing regimen are taken to the Fang to confront the trials of Morkai. Upon passing, they begin the sacred gene seed implantation and endure the blooding, transforming from mere youths plucked from icy shores into transhuman warriors of the Adeptus Astartes. Most life on Fenris thrives in the vast world sea, the planet's lone global ocean which the Fenrisians must brave to survive. The grey expanse of the world sea is home to terrifying creatures, ancient and scaled behemoths as large as islands, capable of swallowing a Fenrisian longship whole. Other predators are serpent-like, with acidic blood and scales that shine in the sunlight. Some creatures of the sea are so alien that their shapes defy easy description. Many-limbed horrors with sharp beaks and cold black eyes lurking in the depths, waiting to snatch the unwary. It is against these formidable beasts that the warriors of Fenris test their mettle, with the victorious immortalized in the oral legends of their people. Survival on Fenris demands ferocity from birth to death. Hence every child, whether boy or girl, is gifted an axe at birth. Those unable to grasp it are cast into the freezing waters to face a swift death. The Fenrisians' survival, and that of their kin, depends as much on wits and determination as on skill with weapons. With a world almost entirely covered by water, mastery of the sea is essential. The Fenrisians learn to fight, navigate and endure through both ice storms and tropical squalls, with large parts of each great year spent enduring the savage conditions at sea, battling monstrous marine creatures or perishing in the world sea's icy depths. The struggle for survival is intense, and with limited resources, tribes are frequently drawn into fierce conflicts over the planet's precious resources, adding yet another layer to the unending strife that characterizes life on Fenris. In Fenrisian culture, most parts of existence are conceptualized as vast seas. The living world is called the Sea of Storms, a title also given to the endless oceans that encircle the planet of Fenris, except for its soul-enduring landmass Asserheim. The vastness of space itself is termed the Sea of Stars, while the warp, the chaotic realm beyond reality, is referred to as the Sea of Souls. Most Fenrisians live upon this Sea of Storms, enduring life on ice floes, volcanic isles or aboard formidable longships. Unlike other Fenrisians who traverse the seas in search of hunt or raid, the natives of the Isle of the Iron Masters adhere to a different way of life. Their craft rivals that of the ancient Terran Iron Age, and their settlement represents the only island free of conquest by the sword. By the ancient pact decreed by Lemon Russ, the Iron Masters are entrusted as the sole source of metalwork for all Fenrisians. Every season, immense dragon ship fleets brave the perilous journey to this island, navigating treacherous waters to reach the Iron Master's haven on Fire Mountain, within sight of Asserheim's towering cliffs. Upon arrival, the tribesmen encounter steam-powered metal vessels and crude yet effective weaponry that secure the Iron Master's treasures from even the most daring raiders. The Iron Master's settlement, with its soot-caked stone buildings, presents a haunting sight to Fenrisians who are accustomed to temporary structures on unstable islands. The permanence of these stone habitats and forges defies the Fenrisians' understanding, as they themselves inhabit islands constantly threatened by quakes and floods. For centuries, however, this isle has remained miraculously stable, its people undisturbed by the relentless catastrophes common to other seafaring islanders. At the stone docks, the wide-eyed Fenrisians exchange pelts, salted meats and other goods for coveted iron spearheads and axe blades, far superior to the bone and stone weapons they typically wield. Occasionally, young aspirants, such as Arjak Rockfist, spend time training with the Iron Masters, or with the forged thralls of the Space Wolves, who labor in the Iron Hills beneath the shadow of the Fang. An ancient Vox relay hub crowns the Iron Master's harbour settlement, serving as a rare means of communication with the chapter. Fenris also harbours one of the most unique landscapes in the form of Kraken's Spur. This rocky formation lies hidden beneath the waves, but during the season of fire, it occasionally rises above the ocean's surface due to tectonic upheavals. The island tribes prize this opportunity as the Spur is a treasure trove of Kraken remains, ancient sea behemoths whose bones and fangs, deposited over millennia, prove invaluable. The bones of these monstrous creatures, some reaching lengths of many kilometers, are ideal for crafting weapons, ship hulls, and tools that surpass the typical crude materials used by the islanders. Even more intriguing, Kraken's Spur is home to the enigmatic Temple of Morkai, an ancient stone structure whose origins are unknown even to the Space Wolves. Whether built by ancient settlers or mysterious strangers, the temple is considered a repository of legendary treasures left by past ages. To the Fenrisians, the wealth and mystery of the Kraken's Spur, particularly the elusive Temple of Morkai, remain symbols of awe and fortune, prizes that embody the enduring allure and fierce spirit of life on Fenris. This territory on Fenris is inhabited by numerous tribes who forge a rugged existence along perilous river crossings and treacherous shallow waters. These people are defined by a fierce pride and a code of honor embedded deeply within their culture. Among the tribes of the fjords, it is said that no warrior will impose upon another what they are not willing to endure themselves. Any harm they cause is reciprocated upon themselves, fostering a cycle of mutual respect and accountability. This unwavering dedication to honor is paired with an intense pride and a need to answer any perceived offense, making them formidable warriors, though this same pride often leads to their own downfall. It is said that in the time of making, the All-Father cast the sphere of Fenris into the sea of stars, reckoning it to be no place fit for life. Fenris felt the cold of the dark and ran back to the warmth of the wolf's eye. The heat of the eye proved too great, and Fenris fled into the outer dark once again. So it is each great year that Fenris races towards the sun in summer and flees again, plunging all into the cold embrace of winter. The telling of Hakon Yellow Eye. The Imperium hosts many death worlds, realms so hostile to human life that survival is nearly impossible, yet even among these, Fenris stands apart as one of the most unforgiving. A land where fire meets ice, wolves hunt alongside dragons, and relentless extremes dominate, Fenris is infamous for its brutality. Yet the people of Fenris do more than survive, they flourish. This perilous world, known as a planet of both searing heat and freezing cold, holds a unique position within the Apocrypha of Skaros, which ranks it as one of the 3 most turbulent and deadly planets in the galaxy inhabited by humanity. Fenris serves as the chapter planet of the formidable Space Wolves, who draw strength from its harshness. The planet follows an erratic elliptical orbit around a dim K-class star, known as the Wolf's Eye, completing this cycle in roughly 2 Terran years, what the inhabitants call a great year. For the majority of each great year, Fenris remains distant from its weak sun, shrouded in an intense cold that freezes even the vast oceans. When the planet reaches its farthest point from the Wolf's Eye, the entire surface, including equatorial seas, becomes encased in ice. During this harsh winter, the volcanic activity of its jagged mountains ceases, and the land bridges between scattered islands become passable, enabling tribespeople to travel on foot across the frozen expanses. It's said that Sigurd the Tall traversed from one end of the world to the mountainous polar Asserheim in the north, and his feat is revered as legendary among the Fenrisians. However, as Fenris nears its sun, the season transitions to a fleeting spring that thaws the ice, bringing life back to the waters and releasing a bounty of krill akin to plankton, bladefish and other quick-breeding marine life. But soon as the planet draws closest to its sun, the Wolf's Eye looms large in the sky, and the season of fire begins, a cataclysmic period of destruction and rebirth. In this season of fire, Fenris is torn apart by tectonic forces that crack the sub-oceanic crust, revealing molten magma beneath the icy seas. Islands erupt in volcanic flames, torrents of lava flow down slopes, and boiling seas shroud the planet in thick clouds of sulphurous steam. Monstrous tidal waves thrash the shores, pulverizing coastlines and consuming entire islands. Only the great granite landmass known as Asserheim, Fenris's unyielding northern continent, remains steadfast amid the upheaval, weathering these storms of fire and ice year after year. Such a volatile environment has forced the Fenrisians into a life of constant adaptation. Primitive, nomadic tribes, each barely at an Iron Age level of technology, roam the land in search of stable ground. Fierce battles for territory are a way of life as skirmishes and feuds over scarce resources break out regularly. The people of Fenris, toughened by this endless cycle of destruction and renewal, have become a culture of hardened survivors. Their resilience is mirrored by Fenris's native creatures, equally well adapted to withstand the extreme conditions of their world, and together they endure the relentless trials of this death world. The death world of Fenris, while famed for its fearsome wolves that hold deep symbolic meaning among its tribes, and the Space Wolves chapter, is also home to a host of other terrifying creatures, each surrounded by legends of its own. Iron-scale kraken. This gargantuan predator was counted among the fiercest and most indomitable of its species. Nearly invulnerable in the ocean's depths, legend recounts that Lemonruss himself dragged the beast from the waters and onto land, where he could slay it more readily. Beast of the Black Fjord. This monstrous inhabitant of a dark Fenrisian river is said to have been lured from its lair by the warrior Hef Shattertusk, inspiring tales of unmatched courage. Thunderwolf Fellclaw, a terror of the Asserheim lowlands, this formidable predator's reign was ended by none other than great wolf Logan Grimnar. After a vicious struggle, Grimnar defeated Fellclaw, then took shelter from a blizzard in a nearby cave where he discovered 2 of Fellclaw's pups. Choosing not to abandon them, Grimnar raised the wolves as battle companions. Today the teeth of Fellclaw are shared as emblems of Grimnar's valor among his company. Its skull crowns his shoulders, and its pelt is draped across his back. Ice Worm Witherwing. One of the most feared drakes lurking in the highest Asserheim peaks, this mighty worm was finally felled after a fierce hunt. Its talons were later refined into an enamel that coats the frost axe Wormclaw. Ice Troll King. Once the greatest menace to the Tidehound's tribe, this colossal ice troll was slain by Wolf Lord Harold Deathwolf. Its hide now serves as his cloak, marking his triumph. Kjarg, King of Wolfkind. This fabled Fenrisian wolf lord is spoken of in stories as vast as a mountain, with a coat as dark as the Fenrisian night. Doppelgangrel? Lucas the Trickster remains the sole space wolf known to have tracked and slain one of the elusive and chameleonic doppelgangrels of Fenris. He now wears its pelt, using its shifting abilities to assist him both in combat and in his notorious mischief-making. These creatures, each fierce and mythic in its own right, contribute to the rich tapestry of lore that surrounds Fenris, a world where even the legends are forged in blood and defiance. Fenris is a place that forges its people in harshness and ice. As one of the Imperium's most fearsome death worlds, Fenris is considered by many to be a vision of torment. Nearly every living thing on this world is either a predator or must possess the strength to fend off predators, leaving no room for weakness. Few invaders have set foot on Fenris and lived to recount the myriad ways one can meet their end on this deadly planet. Life on Fenris is short and filled with relentless struggle. Most Fenrisians live a nomadic life among the hundreds of islands scattered across the world sea. With each passing great year, the season of fire arrives, submerging some islands while new ones rise from the ocean depths, forcing the tribes to continuously relocate. This volatile landscape results in fierce conflicts as tribes wage war over the sparse habitable lands and essential resources. A smaller fraction of the population resides in the lowlands of Assaheim, the sole stable continent on Fenris. To the island tribes, these lowlanders may seem softer, but their lives are no less treacherous. Assaheim's many native predators ensure a constant battle for survival, and among these hardy folk, the space wolves, wolf priests, occasionally select aspirants for the chapter. An even smaller group, the Iron Masters, dwell on the islands surrounding Fire Mountain. Unlike other Fenrisians, they possess rudimentary technology: stone structures, metal steamships and furnaces smelting molten iron. Protected by an ancient pact with Leman Russ, the Iron Masters keep to themselves, trading only occasionally with the islanders who dare to make the journey. Islanders bring food, furs and other goods in exchange for iron tools and weapons, valued as treasures among the tribes. The Iron Masters Islands, one of the few stable landmasses on Fenris, are also equipped with a rare Vox station to maintain contact with the space wolves. Among all Fenrisian resources, land itself is most precious. Every great year brings upheaval, reshaping the landscape. Some islands may endure season after season, allowing tribes to hold onto their land for many years, while others may be shattered and reclaimed by the ocean. When islands are lost, vicious wars erupt among the tribes, and only those who manage to secure new territory will survive. With the season of fire receding, the race to settle new land becomes urgent, as dwindling supplies force tribes to secure their positions quickly. Those unable to find land are thrust into conflict over the territories of rival tribes. Thus, a Fenrisian's life is defined by constant migration and warfare. The people of Fenris communicate in Juvche, a dialect of Low Gothic with roots in the ancient Scandinavian languages of Terra, preserving the legacy of their original settlers. A unique tribe of glacier nomads exists on a chain of massive ice flows, spanning Fenris's seas, living a humble yet perilous existence. These glacier tribes are known for their exceptional senses, honed by a life fraught with danger. Even among the space wolves, battle brothers from these tribes are noted for sharper sight, hearing and smell than their peers, making them prime candidates for the wolf scout packs, where their abilities are invaluable. The Gotrixland Glacier, the birthplace of Brother Starkad, is one of the most notable of these icy expanses, a place of origin for some of Fenris's finest warriors. On this world of relentless cycles and struggle, the people thrive in unyielding conditions, embodying the spirit of Fenris itself. A select few Fenrisian tribes make their homes along the lower slopes of Assaheim's mountain ranges and the lowlands by Fenris's icy seas. The myriad fierce creatures that haunt these rugged areas have kept these tribes few in number, as roving ice trolls or Saiyan Yeti herds can erase a tribe overnight. Though the islanders often see these mountain folk as weaker, sheltered by the mountains, their lives are no less dangerous. Indeed, a small number of these hardy lowlanders are sometimes selected by the Sky Warriors and brought to the Fang as potential aspirants for the Space Wolves chapter. To outsiders within the Imperium, Fenrisian culture appears brutal, untamed and primitive. But despite its savagery, the loyalty and fighting spirit of Fenrisians make them ideal candidates for a Space Marine chapter. The cultural traditions of Fenris have shaped every facet of the Space Wolves' structure and beliefs since the Legion's founding in the Great Crusade. The tribe, led by a Jarl, is the heart of Fenrisian society. Tribal warriors are known as Wolf Brothers or Shield Brothers, and their histories are passed down through songs and epic poems recited by a skald. Every man learns to fight, hunt and protect his people, and the women are equally fierce, for Fenris tolerates no weakness. As spring arrives, tribes gather at communal moots to trade, share tales, and exchange news. The technology is minimal. Iron tools and weapons are precious and rare. Tribal dragon ships, made of bone and hide, traverse the seas, and every settlement is anchored by a hall where the Jarl presides. To the Fenrisians, the Emperor is known as the All-Father, the divine sire of Rus and guardian of humanity. They carve runic totems to ward off the spirits of Gorga, Slanesh, and Horus. Asaheim's towering peaks are the wall of the gods, while the space wolves are known as the mythical sky warriors who come for the worthy fallen. Despite their constant hardships, the people of Fenris see themselves as blessed, for it is through such trials that the Emperor's strongest champions emerge. The Space Wolves recruit their own from these tribesmen, proud defenders of the Imperium. Although Fenris belongs to the Space Wolves, they only dwell on the isolated polar continent of Asaheim, which stands like a cloud-crowned pillar above the turbulent oceans. The rest of Fenris remains wild and untamed, with the people living as best they can amidst the ongoing conflict between ice and fire. While the Space Wolves silently watch over their kin, they do not openly mingle with the tribes. For unknowing Fenrisians, the Space Wolves are the Sky Warriors, mystical figures seen from afar who wield otherworldly power. In their lore, the Sky Warriors are divine, legendary companions of Leman Russ, who will join him in battle when the world's end nears. Asaheim's lands are seen as sacred ground, where only the chosen may tread. In this belief, Fenrisians accept that their bravest warriors, chosen by the gods, ascend to Asaheim, the legendary fortress of Russ. To the people of Fenris, this is the cycle of life, the destiny for those chosen by the All-Father, a tradition they believe will continue as long as the Emperor remains on the golden throne of terror. Leman Russ, Primarch of the Space Wolves, was cast through the warp by the Chaos Gods from the Emperor's gene labs, hidden within the Himalaysian mountains on Terra, to the remote world of Fenris. A snow-laden death world occupied by fierce, primitive human tribes possessing only Iron Age technology. Upon arrival, Russ was discovered by a pack of the giant, semi-sentient Fenrisian wolves, who sensed in him an unusual kinship due to the Canis Helix gene he bore. Living among them, he grew to adulthood within a remarkably short span of Terran years, his genetic modifications rapidly maturing him. It was a Fenrisian king named Thengir, ruler of the Russ tribe, who ultimately found the young Primarch. Thengir had organized a hunting expedition to rid his lands of Fenrisian wolf packs, and after slaying many of the wolves, discovered the formidable young man among them. Instead of casting him out, Thengir took him in and named him Leman of the Russ. Leman swiftly adapted to human ways and became the subject of legend, with tales of his feats spreading across Fenris. Stories claimed he could defeat 100 warriors in minutes or devour an entire aurochs at a single feast. Upon Thengir's death, Leman ascended as the ruler of the Russ tribe, earning the title of Wolf King. Under his leadership, he achieved countless victories and was often seen in battle accompanied by his Fenrisian wolf brothers Freki and Jerry, two wolves who had escaped Thengir's hunters. In time, he united the disparate tribes of Fenris under one rule, a feat achieved only once in the planet's tumultuous history. News of Leman's mighty deeds eventually reached his gene sire, the Emperor of Mankind, who recognized these acts as those only a Primarch could accomplish. He journeyed to Fenris with his great crusade fleet, seeking confirmation that this was one of his lost sons. Disguised among the local tribes, the Emperor challenged Russ in a trial of strength, eventually winning the fierce warrior's respect. Accepting his true heritage, Russ joined the Emperor and took command of the 6th Legion, the Space Wolves, composed of Astartes who bore his powerful genetic legacy.